Yeah, what?
Oh, you know.
No, I don't.
All right, so I
Ah,
guess we're gonna let's start off with the whole thing of Mike. Do you read anything?
no.
That's all right. I don't think any of us did. Sean, this is not going to be about marathon or anything, but I gotta ask, Sean, are you okay about marathon? Because you seem really down the last couple times we've been playing, so I'm worried about you.
No, so I'll be honest, it has nothing to do with the game. Actually, I really do enjoy it, though tangentially, I'm also like, we should look at new games to play. Not because I'm against playing it, and I'm absolutely going to keep playing it.
Mhm.
Um, but I do, the other day when we played Streets of Rage, it
Yeah.
was like, it was a nice little, like, oh, okay, there's other things we can do. And
Hmm.
doing something like the amount of stress that comes in with playing marathon, and
Oh
that's
my
part of the
god.
fun of it. There's
Come
like
home from a
moments
stressful day of work just to play a game that stresses you out. I'm
come
gonna relax
home.
by stressing out.
Oh my god.
Yeah, coming home for me for work means I just moved from upstairs to downstairs.
Is
I'll just do
marathon the
this.
reason why I've
Go
been
here
exhausted
to
lately?
here.
Probably.
Yeah. Um, I don't think that it's on PS Plus because I was looking at it earlier, but I got something we can do, and I'm going to suggest it tonight for fun.
Okay.
Only because I moved the Xbox into the bedroom because Meg had the hankering to play Lego Hobbit, so I set her up to be able to play that.
Nice.
I think, even though I asked you guys about it earlier, I said I was thinking about playing Sorrows, $70 game. Instead, I'm just going to find a way to do this. It's probably going to be easier to do PS gift cards unless they have a gift system on the PlayStation. I don't know, but Shredder's Revenge is only $25, so I'm going to get it for us three to play.
Hold on. What is it?
TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
Oh
Mike knows about
Jesus.
that game. I talked the shit out of that game when it first came out. I played the hell of it on the Xbox. I'll do it again. It's only 25, so I'll get it for us and we can play that later.
Dude.
Did you just say boo?
I said, dude.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what the hell, man?
No, I'm just gonna say you spoil us rotten, dude.
What do you want from me,
Yeah.
Sean? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm buying the game.
No,
you don't have to,
no.
You don't have to buy. Listen, brother, you don't gotta buy me shit.
I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just did it.
No, I was contemplating buying it anyways because I think that's a good idea.
And this one is available for all three of us to play instead of just being two players. So, yay!
Okay.
I got dibs on Leo.
Oh, mine's Mikey.
How ironic.
Yep.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sean, who are you gonna play?
If I can, Casey Jones.
Okay, yeah, he's on it. Okay, now that we're off track, we were going to talk about DRM.
Whoa.
Wow.
Maybe not.
Speaking of DRM, there we go. I was like, I just went to like go get it, and I'm like, why is it $130? Oh, right, because I had a Mortal Kombat game in there for
Oh,
some
Jesus.
reason.
Oh,
Like-
Jesus.
Nice.
All right. Anyways, DRM.
Yes. This is, what am I trying to say here? This falls in line with some stuff that's been going on this last week with PlayStation, where would you say that it's either not understanding DRM or how it works, poor wording from PlayStation, or just people talking about things that they don't really understand? Because it felt like a game of
All
telephone.
three, baby. All three, baby. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that inherently here's the problem, right? people will hear you need to be online at a specific point, otherwise your game will not be usable. People's response to that is basically, oh, they're trying to make it so that way people, they need to be you need to be constantly online, and that is
It
not
goes
what it
from
is.
game consoles past because that was a whole thing with the Xbox. Oh fuck, I hate their naming convention now. I think it was the Xbox One X that was the start of that.
At least PlayStation just numbers them shits. Like it just
Yeah,
makes it easier.
numbers them shits.
Numbers them
Love the way.
shits.
I love that. Sounds so
So,
gross.
Adam, can I actually ask you,
No,
what is DRM?
Mike, what does DRM stand for?
I'm pretty sure Sean asked you.
Okay. I know what it means. Do you know what it means?
I know what it means too, but I'm doing this for the audience.
Yes, it stands for Digital Rights Management. It's basically how it's a little piece of hardware or something that tells you you are allowed to play something because you have a license for it. It is basically a key to a door to let you walk in to do whatever it is in that space.
Gotcha. Now,
Yes.
you said hardware, right? So have there been DRMs that have been hardware in the past?
I mean, in a way, yes, actually, there has been. The only issue with DRM now these days is that it's a license that can be revoked at any point, whereas DRM was only strictly tied to whatever it is you had, and you had full ownership over it and could do what you wanted, a la CDs, DVDs, and whatnot.
Cool. I
Yes.
think again, this kind of goes into the thing of no one, including myself, reads the EULA for
The EULA,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah, no one reads that. And
Yep.
it's funny because it's kind of part and parcel of what I do for a living is handling licensing, handling distribution of software and hardware, making sure that we don't have piracy, and all that's great. Um, but at the end of the day, most people don't realize you buy a game for the most part, you don't own it
These days, yes.
these days. Yes. No, I mean,
Yes.
yeah, back
The,
in
the digital landscape has changed
1989.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, back in 1989, things were a little bit different. But nowadays,
Well, that's okay. There's a little bit of nuance to that as well, too.
well, there's
And like we'll
nuance,
we'll we'll
but
get into more of that, but it's like yes, even if you have the game, they can still lock you out of the console, but then you can go buy a new console and do that. There's this whole shebang with that.
totally. But there's the DRM thing with PlayStation again. Let me
I want to know,
no,
Mike, did you read anything about that?
About the
The PlayStation DRM kerfuffle this week.
I didn't read, but I watched a couple of videos about it.
Okay. So what? That's actually interesting. I'm curious. What did they summarize it as, or what did they say about it for the stuff that you did watch?
They were differing opinions, which kind of bothers me because one interpretation I completely agree with, whereas the other interpretation I am completely against it.
And these are specifically people interpreting what was going on.
Right, exactly.
So it's what they think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the videos were all opinion pieces on what it was. So I've never actually read the actual changes, so I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as other people's interpretations of it, I am okay with it if it just means preventing fraud, which is understandable. But if it means that the other interpretations, they can just shut off the license if you don't use it within a certain number of time, and then you have to rebuy it again, which I think is bullshit.
That last part, I did not get that feeling from the message that PlayStation did put out.
Yeah.
because
It's
it specifically is for digital games. So
Yeah.
you have to be online to buy them anyways. And the token system that they're using, right? And
Hmm.
again, having I hear again, my first reaction was like, wait, what? Like you have to be online all the time? You just within 30 days of purchasing a game and downloading it. I think
Yeah.
it's downloading it too specifically.
Yeah.
When you download a game,
Hmm.
you basically get a temporary token that says you are allowed to play this, and
Yeah.
that is good for 30 days.
Yeah.
What people were doing, as from what I've heard,
Hmm.
is they were kind of doing some sort of like save scumming where they would be offline,
Hmm.
they would get that token, they would dupe that token,
Yeah.
play the game, and then return the game saying,
Yeah.
I've never actually played it. And this
Hmm.
is like their piecemeal method of trying to solve that specific issue,
Right.
I guess. But for the average Joe, it's like, okay, so what you're saying
DRM
is,
is a very dirty word to the layman.
Hmm.
right. And it kind of stems itself from the history of like, again, there used to be ownership, you know, digital repair used to be a thing that you could do, and
Hmm.
now we're starting to come back to it only because people are pushing for it. I remember I was listening to a thing about farmers and like John
Hmm.
Deere tractors, right? You used to be able to, if you were a farmer, fix your tractor. Now you can get locked out of your tractor if you do any sort of alteration to it without having an authorized John Deere professional fix your tractor. And that causes problems because, like, now a lot of farmers, and again, for giant corporation level farming, it's one thing, but for like an average Joe, they're like, why would I want to pay an exorbitant amount of money for a refurbishment? That just seems crazy to me.
Right.
Hmm.
It's weird. So it's a nuanced topic.
Yeah. Uh, I think DRM is a good thing in a sense that it helps keep things moving as appropriately as it should. And there's always going to be people that want to like circumvent these things to get it for free or to make money off it or whatever the
Hmm.
reason is. So it is important in that aspect, but it's also like it makes things really confusing too for people
Hmm.
because okay, I'm starting to get like way into the weeds when it comes to like having two consoles and having to move DRM when you have certain games on one versus another one depending on where you bought it and shit like that. But we'll get there. With PlayStation's thing, their workaround now is to once you download the game, the first time you load it up, you have to be online. It checks and says, okay, yes, this token is tied to this account. You're free to use it. Then it becomes permanent. You keep it. You can start playing it offline after that. You're good to go. PlayStation came out specifically and defined these so that way people understood what this whole thing was about because it was all a game of telephone and people were getting details wrong about it and were worried that it was going to be another always online situation like with Xbox a couple years ago.
Hmm.
But that is not the case. However, the conversation around DRM is starting to happen again, which we need more education about this. That way people understand what it is, what's
Right.
going on with it, why it's necessary, and shit like that. And probably the best way to figure that out and help educate people on that is to start back from the beginning and how we ended up getting to where we are now. In regards to DRM, when we first had video games before, you bought the cartridge, you owned the product, and that was it. You took it home, you plugged it in, and you played it. There was no revoking the license. There was no no having to authenticate or anything like that. It was just there. That was the
Yep.
same thing that it
Yeah.
did for years and years up until we ended up getting CDs. CDs inherently have like DRM, but it's an open DRM too because you own the CD. You can play it. You can put it in the computer and rip it and stuff. But as soon as you start trying to take that license that you bought and turn it into a profit for yourself is when they're able to start like revoking the license. And the only way they did that was if you digitized it and use it online. They can't just come to your house and take your CD away.
Hmm.
Right. Thanks, Napster.
You ruined it for everybody else.
Damn you, Metallica. And it's funny because they got kind of villainized for that too. But like at the end
Yes,
of
they
the
did.
day, if I think it's funny because they had the largest platform. They're multi-million-dollar band. But at the end of the day, it also would suck for if you're like a Joe Schmo garage band and you put out an album and you find out that you didn't make any money on it because everyone and their moms just got it for free.
Yeah. Um. Hmm. I'm trying to think of other devices that would do that. Because, like, even with the CDs, you could rip them before, and, like, you would still have that license for ripping CDs, and then you can move them to other devices to listen to music on. Like, there were so many different iPods, and what is it? Zune had its own thing, and there was, like, a million other third party systems that you can use for listening to music. But it wasn't, like, games, you weren't able to do that because generally when you had the game, it was stuck to the one system.
Hmm.
You couldn't take it, make a copy of it very very easily or at all, and then go and sell it or do something with it later on. I think, and I might not be remembering far enough back, but I feel like a lot of the stuff started happening around the 360 era. But I think it's because they were worried about having another Dreamcast scenario.
And what happened with the Dreamcast?
The story is that, like, I don't know how, if it's 100% confirmed or anything like that, but the story is, and this is, well, hell, this is also, now I remember something. There's another thing about the PlayStation Black Disc. There's a reason why they were black, and that was their way of combating DRM and shit like that. But the Dreamcast was one of the worst examples of this, where somebody was able to crack something on the Dreamcast, and the way that the games are compiled and put on the CDs, it made it possible for anybody to take the CDs, make copies of them, and play them on either the Dreamcast or a computer. So you didn't need those things anymore, which is why Dreamcasts weren't being sold or anything. It was cracked wide open. It was given to the masses, and then they got no business off of it.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. So Sega didn't get into the console market again. They pivoted to just making games, and now we have the console wars that we have today. But the biggest one that like comes to mind for me is the 360 era. Maybe you guys remember something more about the PS2 or even PS1. Hello, Snow. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest introduction for DRM is probably the 360 because that's when it made the most sense for people, and they might not even realize it at the time.
Hmm.
Back on the 360, when the actual big bulky hard drives that you would put on top of the systems were being rolled out, well, hell, even on the little memory cards, but they weren't big enough for a lot of things. But the idea was that to increase the output of your 360 and have things load faster, and like take less time for things, was to rip the game from the DVD onto your console, and then it would load faster. But you couldn't not play the game without the disc. And that's a perfect example of DRM right there. There's the check to make sure that you own that game is the disc versus what you have copied on the system itself.
Which is
It would
kind
not.
of how it's kind of how it works now, right? Where
Yes, but they're trying, like with PlayStation's new thing, they're trying to make a mixture of what's happening now and kind of that. You do the one check, it says you own it, and you can play it offline
no,
after that
I'm
indefinitely.
ta- I'm talking about specifically for physical media. So for the most part, your PlayStation disc, you put it in, and it actually starts. It prompts a download. You download the
You're
game.
right. It does do that for Gears of War because, Mike, we have the disc and
Yep.
it had to install. You
Hmm.
play the game, but it won't play it without the disc being in the system.
And that was one of the biggest arguing points for the PS5 and this new era of gaming is the games are often too. I mean, they probably aren't too big, but
They're
the
oftentimes not
idea,
on the disc.
right? It's like a portion of the game is on the disc, and then the subsequent amount of the game has to be downloaded to your system. So like Horizon Forbidden West, I
Hmm.
have that on my PS5. It takes up like 130 gigabytes, but I own the disc. So why is it on my thing? The reason is because it's a hybrid model.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh
Or
yeah.
with God, Xbox has kind of pushed this to be a mandatory thing too. Or I just haven't figured out how to turn off the settings to do so. But for their Xbox Series X enhanced games, and I guess now, I mean, by proxy, Game Pass and shit too, they have to be on an internal drive, whether it's the removable storage drives or the internal hard drive. They have to be installed there to be able to use those enhanced features, and they only want them installed on those, like in the instance of Game Pass, for those online checks. Not even mentioning that you have to be online to be able to play those games to begin with. They specifically want it to be on those drives. They don't want it to be on storage drives.
Interesting.
Yep.
I
Is
get
there?
it.
I don't know if there's a thing like that for PlayStation though. Like I know you can put thumb drives in for specific things, and you can install your own hard drives into the PlayStation that they don't have to, or that they can be third-party
Hmm.
drives. But are you able to install games onto that from like PlayStation Plus?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no emphasis on using PlayStation branded stuff.
Oh God, no.
No. No.
No.
But
See, it's interesting.
so the form factor for the M2 SSDs. What?
Okay.
So the form factor for the SSDs that you
Hmm.
can that you can internally install, they are it's there is a specific form factor, but it's not like ubiquitous,
But
right?
that's more of
And
the
it,
size rather than who's making it.
but I think that that's also that's a
Right.
logical outgrowth of the Vita, because with the Vita, you used to buy SD cards, and they would be you could only buy PlayStation branded SD cards, and
Hmm.
they caught no shortage of shit for that.
Yeah, because it
See,
wasn't that way
Xbox.
with the PSP.
Yeah, I know. And so I have my Vita upstairs, and I got like an expanded SD card that I could put into it,
Mm.
but it says PlayStation right on it. And if you try to put one in that is not a PlayStation branded card, that and also it was the charging cable as well. It was also proprietary, and that was one of the things I think that eventually turned people off from the Vita. It wasn't just that the games kind of sucked, which they kind of did. That the Vita was awesome. Like
Mm.
I wish that they implemented a way to use that as um, a remote access to like a PS5, using that as a backbone instead of like but putting buying a backbone or buying the PlayStation um, portable hand thing that you could play games on
Mm.
The
to stream
PlayStation
from your
Portal.
PS5. Yeah, PlayStation Portal. Instead of you buying that, using the Vita and have because again now I can't do anything with it. Like it's just sitting up in a box somewhere,
Right.
and until the battery degrades and then the whole thing just melts. That's kind of the problem I think with you have to walk that fine line. I think that the minute that you start making everything branded, right? And again, Vita as an example, right?
Xbox
They
is an
were
example too. They did the same thing with thumb drives. Like they opened that up to where you can use thumb drives as a storage device, but it had to be Xbox branded or specifically sold from Microsoft. And then they eventually opened that up to other third parties.
right. And is there, and again, I also understand from a corporate perspective. I'm not like,
Yes, I think we all understand protecting your assets,
Yeah.
but don't make it confusing and hard on the consumer.
right. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, if I'm, Johnny whatever, and I'm like, hey, I want to buy a Vita, and then I'm like, oh, cool, this takes SD cards, and I have one, I slam it in there, and it's like, nope. I mean, like, I'd be pissed. I mean, especially
Hmm.
because you end up with the markup, right? It's kind of the same thing with phones, right? Back in the day, you used to be able to get SD cards, put them in your phones.
Yeah.
Then they went from that and they made it all internal storage, and they were
Hmm.
like, to make it more streamlined. And it's like, no, you're trying to protect the bottom line. That's what
Right.
you're
Right.
doing, right? But there is, like, again, with going back to DRM, there is a valid point in it where looking at it from the perspective of not mega corporations, but like little indie developers,
Right.
fine. You're a team of three, you put out a first person shooter, you put your heart and soul into it, and you find out that because you didn't put DRM on it properly, everyone and their moms downloaded your game for free off of, some backwater, you know, torrent site.
Well, see, that's why if they like do Steam's pretty good about protecting those things through their market. The issue with like indie developers or people who sell through Steam is usually the code generators, like giving them or wanting to give away free Steam codes or something like that for your game. There's a lot of scalpers that are able to get those and then resell them later on, and
Right.
that's something that they're fighting. But that's not necessarily a DRM issue. That's just a bot scraping something to get the keys before anybody else can.
Right. And like, I think that again, from the layman's perspective, if you don't know anything about licensing and licensing of software specifically, right, you're going to look at that and be like, oh, it's the same thing, right? And it's not. And
Right.
one of the arguments that I actually saw, because again, like Mike said, there are two schools of thought. Either the entire thing's burning down because no one, the huge corporate overlords are trying to like stick it to the little man,
Mm.
or
Gross.
hey, this is a really good idea. And one of the guys that was kind of going over this was basically saying, well, Steam doesn't do this. You can play offline. But again, I think missing the nuance of this token exchange process to be able to play the game. Because they probably do it, they just do it differently. And
Hmm.
PlayStation implemented a system that was easily exploitable. So now this is their kind of stopgap solution.
Right. See, I haven't finished reading into everything, so I didn't know like how deep it goes. So this has been kind of interesting
Mm.
to read about too. But I mean, their solution makes perfect sense as to why they're doing it, and they're doing it in like the easiest way possible too, without having to do a constantly online thing. Because
Right.
that it's not a case of like one a bad apple spoils a bunch here. They're saying this is a specific issue. Here's our stopgap solution for it.
I think the thing that's also happening, going back to your game of telephone, is that now there are people coming out and saying, this game that I bought 2 years ago, I can't play it anymore. And
But that's not true either.
right, and therein lies the rub. Or it is true, but not because of this specific thing. Something else may have happened, right? It could have been any number of software glitches. It could have been anything. And therein lies the big rub, right? I think that we are kind of inclined as a society at this point to look at something and immediately either see it as amazing or horrible. And you end up picking a side, right? And most people pick horrible because, especially on social media where we're seeing a lot of this shit, horrible gets views.
Yes. Mike, I'm curious as to your experiences with it because I know that you have you have a PS4 and a PS5 that Sawyer plays Minecraft on, and you do as well. And there is where some of the DRM issues will come in because if unless you have bought him the game on his own account with his own PlayStation and stuff, if you have the license for Minecraft on your account, where you bought that from is where the DRM license lives. And then if you were to sign in anywhere else, download the game on another console, you would have to have your account signed in on that console to be able to play the game because the DRM license does not live on the other console. It lives on the original one that you bought it on.
Ooh, I'm wondering if that has anything to do with. Remember how I said I was where Sawyer's account just all of a sudden stopped working
Mm-hmm.
on the PlayStation, but I could sign into it on his tablet, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that's what that is.
If your main account that owns the license to it is on there, and then he's able to use it when he signs in too, then that is most likely the case. And that is strictly a DRM licensing thing. And I think that's one of the overlooked things that people don't realize and will complain about the companies rather than understanding how licenses work and where they live and why.
Right.
And I think that's the other thing too, the convenience factor, right? Because like you're a dad,
Yep.
You're like, hey, my kid wants to play it. The kid comes in the room is like, hey, I can't play Minecraft. You have to spend time out of your day.
Yeah.
That increases your level of frustration. Then you research it a little bit, and you're like, oh, it's a DRM issue.
Yeah.
Well, there it is again, corporate overlords and whatnot. And it's like, yeah. And again, am I like jazzed about the idea about that? I'm like defending, multi-billion-dollar corporations? Not really, but
I
I,
think we're
I'll,
defending the reasoning for it because it's absolutely necessary for any kind of company to protect their assets. We're arguing that it's shit. The way that they go about these things is terrible.
yes,
And I
right,
think Xbox really poisoned the well when it came to that.
right. And I think we were talking about this earlier, specifically when it came to the persistent always online. I think the one that everyone goes back to is
That's
SimCity.
Xbox for you.
Yeah. Well,
Wait,
SimCity,
who would you hang on? That I feel like that's a little bit two different things. Would you blame SimCity for doing the always online thing, or would you blame Xbox saying that they always need it online so they can check to verify you own the game? Because remember, like when they showed off that showcase, PlayStation came around and was like, "Here's how we know if you play the game or if you own the game. You take it, you put it in. You want your friend to play it, you give it to them to put it in their thing to play." Like it became a whole meme.
right, which is now kind of funny in retrospect because we're having this conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Um,
people thought they were doing an Xbox this time because of the always online thing. But again, not always online.
right. And I think that therein again lies this level of telephone that you run into, right? Where
Yes.
if you hear you need to be online, your immediate response is always online. And then you think back to the time that you paid full price for SimCity back in, the mid tens, right? And you were like, hey, I want to play this cool game because I'm really into city building. And then day one, you turn it on and you can't play the game because their servers crashed. And it's like, oh, and then I mean, I think that
Can you
I
remind me
think
something about that? Was it when the servers crashed? Was it that the servers were unable to verify that they had owned the game, or was it just the servers just weren't there? Like I'm wording this terribly, but the idea is like obviously the game is on your side. It's not hosted on a server anywhere. So when they load up the game,
hmm
it does the check for it to make sure that you own it. And
hmm
then if the servers are having issues, it would kick back saying no.
right.
Correct?
Or
And
it
that
would
was
kick
that
it
the
would
issue?
yes, from what I've gathered, again, this is I'm not doing any research. I'm just trying to use this Swiss cheese of a brain to try to remember this. From what I remember, well, what happened is it would need to be persistently online. That was their way of doing DRM and checking to whether or not you own the game. Day one, something happened and the servers became were offline. And when people turned on the game on day one, they basically got a thing saying that it wasn't even like a you don't own this game. It was trying to connect to the server over and over and over and over again. And then eventually they were like, I just paid $60 for this. And that's why we don't have the Sims anymore.
Interesting. I found an article back from 2013 where Maxis, the developers of it, were
Yeah.
talking about it. And interesting. So it looks like some people had discovered code for a 20-minute offline forced shutdown timer. And there's a quote in here that says, "In many ways, we built an MMO." That's not what SimCity originally was supposed to be. So the fact that there was stuff like that, where you had to play it online was
Right.
cool.
Right. I mean, that's kind of that was the whole argument too. It's like, okay, I can understand it. I mean, not that it would be great, but on day one, if we were playing marathon and we all got stuck in a lobby,
Weird.
that what?
It sounds like reading this. It sounds like the games weren't really hosted on your own machine either, which therein
Yeah,
lies another problem too.
right.
Because here's a quote from it that says, "We offload a significant amount of the calculations to our servers so that the computations are off the local PCs and are moved into the cloud. It wouldn't be possible to make the game offline without a significant amount of engineering work by our team. Why did you make it to where when you make the game, those things live online in a cloud rather than being on your local machine where the game is supposed to live to begin with?
Right. And I
They
think
they're foisted by their own petard. They did it to themselves. But then
so.
they pass that ache and the heartache and pain to the consumer.
And I think that's the thing that got people really annoyed. It wasn't because, again, this is also another thing to talk about DRM is cloud-based gaming because that's another whole kettle of fish, right? But more to the point, I think the thing that annoyed people wasn't that they just did this, it's that they didn't know that that was the case. And
It's a loop, man. We're going right back to the beginning. It's a lot of in education. You're the English person. A lot of people not.
miseducation.
Thank you. De-education. There's a lot of like misinformation and not understanding about what the DRM and licensing is and how that shit works. They just think I got this game for this system. I download it, I hit the button, and it goes. Nothing to worry about. And yeah, there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that you're not even aware of when it comes to that.
Well, going back to your question to me earlier today, hey, seems like when you were playing Marathon, you seemed a little bit off, right? You're down with a hard day of work, you slap in your game, and this actually happened to me with Marathon too. And it wasn't Marathon, it was my system. And again, nothing to do with DRM, but because of a weird foible. By the way, anyone listening, if you have a PlayStation 5 and you find that there is slow upload speeds or download speeds, it's probably because your network settings are set incorrectly. And instead of setting it to an automatic to either go between your 2.4 if you have a dual band router, which I think we all do at this
We're going to
point.
start confusing people.
Right, well,
I guarantee you that a lot of people probably do have a dual band router, but they're not going to know the difference between 2.4 and 5. They're not even going to
well,
understand what dual band is.
wait till they get to tri-band.
Oh my god.
Oh. Um,
Explain N networks to people.
and I think therein lies. But here's the thing, right? Now I'm relatively tech savvy.
Hmm.
I looked at that issue. I went online. I looked at one post on Reddit. Whoever, God, I wish I could remember who the guy was who posted it because that guy is a king. Or I'm
Probably
sorry,
like Feet
that
Sniffer
person.
587.
Yeah, poop emoji 345.
Yeah.
Um, I think therein lies the big thing, right? Where, oh man, by the way, Celtics are getting myrtleized right now.
I have not heard Terry yell anymore, so I wonder if she's just accepting defeat now.
We got one more game. I'm a relatively, I'm part of my role. What I used to do was technical support. I used to do this all the time, and that actually gives a great insight into the how. And again, the average person. Most people don't know this shit. I watch Computer File in my spare time, not because
Hmm.
I like it's like I just think it's really interesting. It's a really cool thing to watch.
Yep.
How we got to this point. Fundamentally, our society is now based on these really high level technological things
Mm.
that most people do not even understand. Hell,
Right.
AI, even the people who know how to use it inherently don't understand it for reasons. Like there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Um, Now
Well,
imagine,
a name gives things certain connotations too, and I think when you say AI, people have this view in their mind, and it's not there. It's not what that is at all.
well, and to tie it back to it, and to tie it back to the whole reason I went on this tangent, people hear AI, they think that. When people hear DRM, they think that as well.
Yeah.
And if you were some guy, you just got off of your shift and your one outlet is playing video games for an hour before you go to sleep,
Hmm.
and your video game doesn't work, and you go online, you hear it's because of DRM, you'd be pissed. If you don't go into the reasoning behind why somebody implemented a system like that, and again, even if you did, it is annoying. Like DRM is
Yeah.
annoying. It's an inconvenience,
Yes.
but for reasons,
Yep.
ostensibly.
because humans are humans at a base level.
Right. If I could get something for free, I'd get it for free. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, somebody
I tried
has
to
to
give
take
you
the
a game
cost
for
of that.
free and you bought it anyway.
The
I'm
the
just
Irish
saying.
listen, man. The Irish in me would not allow that. You have children. I can buy my own video game. Um, and
I
I
want
but
to hear. Go,
no,
go.
you go.
You finish your thought.
I've waxed eloquent enough. Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Inconvenience stems annoyance. Annoyance eventually erodes brand confidence.
yeah, Mike, I want to hear from you more about this. We haven't got to hear your lovely voice in a little bit.
I'm just enamored with the explanations because I'm.
Are you learning a lot?
Yeah, I'm unfortunately on
Okay.
the other side of the spectrum. Like I know more about technology and stuff than the average person,
hmm
but not very much. Like I'm confident enough to play around um with USBs, cable wires, stuff of that nature. But when you
Okay.
start going into the nitty gritty, further than that, like I understand speeds and everything like that a little more than the average person. But when you start going into code and trying to understand this does that type, it goes way above my head.
Do you? If I said, do you know what NAT is? Do you know what that is? Have you heard it? You had to have read it
I've
on your consoles.
I've heard I've read NAT, but I have no idea what that is.
Okay. NAT stands for Network Address Translation.
Yep.
My first degree is in networking systems, so servers and all that shit is. This is up my. I almost said up my ass. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, up my alley. But
Camp your
basically,
ass.
yeah, I almost did. getting
Networking
late.
is up my ass.
All the cables and shit. But NAT, your consoles rely on NAT for online gaming.
Yeah.
And it can have a couple different flavors to it, but it's essentially like a method that routers use for like firewalls and ports and things like that to be able to send information in and out, basically.
Right.
So when you have a restricted net, it slows down your multiplayer gaming. You don't get good connections to stuff. It creates a lot of lag for you. Generally, consoles like OpenNet, which, if you're not too far from your router, it's configured right, you should be fine on that part.
Right.
Unless you have like a I'm losing my words here, a system that you have set up yourself where you have restricted net for whatever reason, or you can completely control the network traffic, then yeah, that's something that you would have to play with. Generally, consoles handle all that shit under the hood already.
Okay.
I was just curious. Ooh, since you are learning some stuff, what are some questions about this or some misunderstandings you might have about it or misgivings? Or what have we said that might not make a lot of sense to you yet?
I'm trying. Like right now, I'm trying to compare it to what I've learned, what I thought I learned previously. So let's go back to the disc situation, the DRM setup with that. So I understood a part of the game. If you bought a console game now, part of the game is on the disc. The other part is you'd have to download. When did that switch though?
When games started being 80 plus gigabytes big, and were not necessarily on Blu-rays at first, or now are on Blu-rays and are completely using up all the space, or they won't even use up all the space and use just a little bit to prompt you to download the entire thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically when it switched out. But
Also,
I want to say what?
no, I was going to say also it kind of coincided with the increase in network speeds because you can't have that system unless you have the ability to actually download a game. And
Right.
even
And
then,
then the increase
yeah.
in network systems kind of begetted people downloading games and turning everything online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that also begetted, big IPs like turning around and saying, "Hey, you're going to have bandwidth restrictions at certain times of day, and you're
Yep.
also going to have um, data limits." So that was a huge. We're all Massachusetts.
Mm.
This is why I love Massachusetts. Um, in the rest of the country, you actually have a data limit. So like you can download. And again, you're from Michigan, Matt, Adam, so you probably have heard this. You only have a limited amount of data that you can actually stream through your home internet connection, not
Yeah.
just your phone, your home internet connection.
Well, before
No
you had
shit.
set speeds, before you had set speeds and then a limit on that unlimited connection. Once you
Hmm.
hit that connection, they would slow it down. So you would still have internet and shit, but it would be like cut in half when it came to speeds and shit like that.
If you were lucky, because the other thing they would do is they would charge you for overages.
Yep.
This is like
So
old school when things were first up and coming too, because things have
All
changed
right.
a hell of a lot.
Oh, so
no,
basically the same
no,
model as
no,
the old phone plans.
no. That is the way it exists in a lot of the country. This happened during COVID because during COVID, everyone worked from home. Bandwidth at home internet connections started to go up. And then internet service providers said, hey, we're not making any money on this. So they initially started doing it. And in New England, it happens, I think a couple of states
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
still are
remember what
doing
you're
it.
talking about. Yeah.
So I forget who it was. It was either,
It's probably Comcast.
no, the politician who actually fought this.
Oh, okay.
Um, Politicians in Massachusetts basically came out and were like, that's illegal. That is price gouging. You can't do that here. And I
Hmm.
remember that Xfinity Comcast had to put out a statement saying, we are going to do this. And then, like, a year later, they came back and said, we're not doing that in Massachusetts. But that is another whole thing that this transitory period to having games fully on the disk,
Yeah.
now that we have the ease of downloading a giant 80 gigabyte game.
And to
Okay,
go back to your, I'm sorry to cut in, but to go back to your original question, Mike, I think a lot of this started when we swapped over to the, um, was it the second or third major generation of consoles? Uh, the
Mm.
PS4, Xbox One X series of
Yeah.
that console generation, where you put the disc in, and I think that's when it started automatically grabbing the games, putting them on the console, so that way it had that always online check to be able to Xbox specifically, and then
Okay.
it would be on the system.
right. And you still need the disk. And that's one of the
Yep.
again, that's a method of DRM, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
Because if you gave that game to somebody else, and again, this would you still could download it, but some games, I think Cyberpunk had this where you actually had a code that came in the game package and you needed to enter that. That was just their methodology of doing it, and that
That's
was a
like old school PC gaming too, because
right.
Yeah, the
back in the
CD
day you'd get the
keys.
jewel
Yeah.
case. Yes, exactly.
Well, and one of the main proponents against fighting that was like GameStop. Their whole business model, which is dying again because tech bros are like, hey, we're not going to invest in this company anymore. Um, One of their main business model is reselling of games, and this is kind of the start. I remember during the PS4 era, with the digital only versions, and especially with the PS5 era, the
Right.
digital only versions,
Hmm.
where you had this argument of, okay, there's a convenience factor because you download the game, you can just turn on your PlayStation, hit
Boom,
OK,
good to go.
game
Yeah.
boots up, you're off and running. But if you ever wanted to, if your buddy wanted the game, you can't share it. It's not like a VCR tape. You
Right.
can't just take it out of your system and hand it off to somebody. And people were
Ooh,
against the digital. People were like not jazzed about the digital versions, but where it really came into play was the physical media
Hmm.
because there was a huge scare that people thought it was going to be that. You bought the game physically, and then you went and brought it to GameStop, and they're like, we can't buy this. This is locked. This is your game now.
I just had not a realization, but I just remembered something from the 360 era when it came to DRM and stuff like that. That was when digital games were first coming out, like for console marketplaces, and they were usually the small ones, like the Xbox arcade games or little indie games that came out on their stores and stuff too. Those were strictly digital games, not that didn't have a physical version. Some of the bigger names like Borderlands and whatever else, you could buy them digitally, put them on the console, and you were basically able to play them offline, despite it being a digital purchase. But instead of having an always online connection to check and authenticate, it would have you authenticate every hour or 2 hours. So it would want you to sign in or go online so it can check and see, and it's like, okay, yeah, you still own this, you're fine. And then you could take it back offline and play it again for like an hour or two, and then it would have you do the check again. But I don't remember hearing a lot of people complaining about that. But that is another form of DRM and like keeping that system in place.
Right. And I think the thing is, I wonder yeah, see, I don't know. It's really interesting what kind of grabs the public's attention, especially in things like this, because like that would just be
There's a lot
annoying
more
for me.
eyes on video games now. Video gaming is more popular than it's ever been.
Right, which is insane because like, and again, this is kind of the weird thing. Let's go with the Disney movie, okay? If you torrent a Disney movie, there's going to be DRM on it, and
Mickey's gonna come to your ass, come to your ass, come to your house and beat your ass. Come to your ass and beat your house.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And yet, that is something that, and again, not that you have to be persistently online, but like you can't, if you have I don't know, Disney movie on DVD and you rip it and you send it off to somebody, or you torrent it, you've aided in piracy. It's on the front of all of the movies that, if you buy home media, I mean, DVDs specifically, or
You wouldn't
Blu-rays.
download a car.
Right. And oh my God.
But that would
one.
be cool.
Now you
That
just
would be-
download the files for them and you print it out for yourself at home.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and again, there's reasons for it. Like, and
Yes.
again, I think the problem is the marketing on it is bad.
Hmm.
Like,
And I think Xbox fucked that up.
and I think they fucked it up specifically for people because they didn't explain it, and the explanation's always bad. The
reasoning behind it too is never well either. Like, yes, you're saying a very obvious point, but you're not going about it very tactfully either.
Right. I mean, as somebody who works in an industry where we sell software, we sell hardware, I fundamentally understand why. But as a consumer, I'm also like, bro, I just want to, turn on my game and shoot some UESC.
Hmm.
So, like, I get it. I get the disparity between the end user being kind of annoyed, and as somebody who has persistently, whenever an EULA shows up, and I'm like, except, I mean, we're kind of complicit in it because, to be fair, who has the time to read EULA? Like, I don't. Like, I've read the Stormlight Archives now twice, the entire series twice. And even I'm like, I don't have time to read any sort of service level agreement on any of this shit.
So, Mike, how are we going to fix the issues?
Educate yourself.
Good luck getting people to do that. I mean, that's kind of what we're here for. That's what we're doing right now.
Or at least
Yeah.
trying to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we post education masqueraded behind fun video game stuff.
Yep.
We need to make a video game about DRM.
That when you turn it on for the first time, it just won't turn on because it's not connected to any server.
Oh my god, that'd funny.
Uh,
Mike, did you have any other things that you want clarified, or that doesn't make sense?
No, at this point, I'm actually pretty good. I have a better understanding on how it works now,
Mm-hmm.
or at least enough to satisfy me where I'm like, okay, this it makes sense. I feel more comfortable about it. But there's always going to be that little bit of unease in the back because
yeah.
we're used to that at this point.
When it comes to DRMs and its relationship with licensing, how apparent is that to you?
What do you mean? Explain that.
How they are more or less connected? How you have to have DRM in order to have a license? I guess let me rephrase it this way. Without DRM, there is no ownership now.
Yes.
And that's mainly because of digital games,
Yeah.
digital
Right.
products.
There's no. I wouldn't say there's no ownership. There's no exclusivity of ownership.
Right.
Because what is ownership? Ownership is you just own it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the
Like, I own this
exclusivity,
water bottle. No one can walk in here and take it away from me.
right? Unless they have a dongle. Which, by the way, hey, at least we didn't. Again, with some of the products in the industry that I work in, most of them are, at least up until fairly recently, were dongle based, which is another whole kettle of fish, right? Because licensing through like, could you imagine, for example, okay, I bought GTA 6. Hey, what is this USB stick that comes with it? Oh, you need to
That's your
plug that
license.
in. That's your license to play the
Yep.
game.
Oh
And
Jesus.
yeah, and that actually is ubiquitous in a lot of industries
Yeah.
because as bad as it is with video games, and again, video games, I'm not a defender of like DRM being like they did it perfectly the first time. At least it ain't that.
Yeah. Let's touch on the licensing thing too, just for fun. I think we've mentioned before too
Fun.
that, yeah, I'm having fun. This is wonderful. Great topic. Yeah, how, Mike? I think I've asked you this question before when we've talked about some of the stuff, but how do you feel about the general idea that, yeah, you bought the game but you don't own it?
I don't like it, but I'm getting more numb to it. I'm more open to it.
You're accepting it. They're
Yeah.
beating you down.
Unfortunately, that's what it is. You don't have a choice.
I mean, you do. You do.
Yeah.
You don't consume that media. I mean, like, again, but it's also the thing of like a phone, right? Like, you used to be able to, and again, you can fix the phone, but the minute you open this bad Larry up,
That's
like
it.
I have a,
It's all on
that's
you.
it. It's yours. Not only is it yours now, also the thing that gets really fun about something like a physical media, right? Or a physical object is if at any point you take some of those OEM parts and you sell them online, you could get sued. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because part of your license agreement is you cannot remove parts and sell them without express written consent of the manufacturer, which then causes a whole nother set of problems because if you there's no market for used parts. That was the whole argument behind like the right to repair laws in Massachusetts. It's
Right.
Hmm.
basically like if you have a computer, right? Like this is one of the things that I love watching like I'm on these computer repair TikTok and like
Yeah.
these computer repair shops going into pre-built versus fully built by like HP or Dell versus like you know built at home, right?
Yeah.
DIY computers, and the benefits and detriments to all of them. And 90% of the time, it's because there's proprietary parts that there is no solution for. So
Right.
you either have to buy an OEM part at a severe markup, or your just computer doesn't work.
Hmm. Yeah.
And licensing does that too, like
Right.
in some
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah. This is true. But when it comes to the licensing, the way DRM works with that is there is, I mean, the what it breaks down to is just like it can be revoked at any time. So that sucks. Like if you can't work within the DRM system despite buying the game and working on it, then they can take away the license or not allow you to use it because there's no way to verify that. So
Right.
then, stepping back into it, how do you say that you own anything these days or whatever when it's all licensing and subscription based and hinged on the DRM?
Yeah.
I think that whole system itself is just a mess, but I am not smart enough to figure it out.
Who is?
I don't know. It feels it definitely feels like it's a thing built upon another thing built upon another thing that didn't get looked at as they were building upon it.
Right.
It's just all kludgy and thrown together and reliant on what came before it.
Just like every system that's ever broken ever.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Break
like
it down to build it up.
I used to say this because again, one of my weird skill sets is like process process like development. I want to say then maybe not development. I don't want to say process management either, but I've been heavily into like lean, Six Sigma manufacturing, things like that, and organic growth of a process versus planned growth of a process is always super
I would
interesting.
argue that's intelligence. Because, like, we deal with that, like, in. Because, okay, quick tangent. For my job, we have, like, I'm a business intelligence analyst. I deal with a lot of that stuff when it comes to building the reports because it ties into the overall business plan and the different disparate parts of the business and what they're doing and trying to tie it all together to make things run smoothly. So I would say
Hmm.
that's an intelligence thing.
Sure. Um, the it's always funny. Like again, the one that we always go to is just because people have always done it that way does not mean that's a good way to do it. And I
Right.
feel like this system, and again, the leaps and bounds that they've taken, again, like the once online thing is still markedly better
There
than
is something we haven't mentioned at all about this, and I don't know why it never came up. I don't know why I never said it until now, and I don't know why I didn't even fucking think about it. But the only one who has been doing the right fucking thing this whole goddamn time is fucking Nintendo. You buy a Nintendo game, that's it, it's yours. It doesn't matter if it's online, offline, whoever the fuck, wherever you're playing it, doesn't matter. You own the game, that's it.
well, but
Sorry.
yeah, no, to be fair, actually, if you're going back into the whole DRM debacle and why this occurs, part of the impetus for this, at least in the video game space, is because of Nintendo. How many times, like, again, remember back in the day, you used to buy a Nintendo game and it was Nintendo guaranteed or whatever
Oh,
their thing was,
yeah, the Nintendo seal of approval.
because there was especially early on, there was a litany of people that would just reverse engineer games
You're talking
and
about the Atari stuff.
Nintendo too. Nintendo they
At the very
had
beginning, yes.
yeah at the very beginning, and then they
Yep.
were like, no, we can't do this because the shovelware that was coming onto the market. Part of the reason why the
It made
video
them look
game,
bad.
right, the crash of '83 happened was because people were pumping out crap, and
Hmm.
because
And there was no
they
struct or no system in place to keep that kind of shit from happening. It was just the Wild West. People could have the same IP across like 5 or 6 different developers, and they would just pump shit out.
yeah, yeah, and I mean that was in part of the development of third party gaming was also an outgrowth of that because you couldn't just rip games anymore. So you had to have companies that made games using the correct architecture. But it's really interesting. Like the more you go back into the ancient history of it, it's, I can totally see why Nintendo would be like kind of has their shit together on this Though they also never discount games, so it kind of makes
No.
sense. They
Yeah,
better.
I'm.
If I'm paying full price $60 for a game that released 5 years ago, I damn well better own it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good argument. But
Yeah,
I don't
Nintendo.
know why I never thought about them. Like, when the new generation of consoles came out, there were still the online check-ins and stuff with Xbox and PlayStation, but the Switch was not like that. Downloading the games, you can take it offline. You can take your Switch out of the house, go wherever you want. The game would boot right up. You just couldn't do online things.
Right, but they also have like they're also one of the most litigious companies on the planet. Like their handling of DRM is basically not on a games level, but like on a society level. So
They're gonna show up
like
to your house.
they are no joke. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason why like pirated games like again, I there is this kind of overlooked thing for old ROMs that live online. Like again, people don't I'm not
Well,
advocating
it's a
for
gray area, so
it's
there's no real litigation that can be done. But what you're getting into, to me, and what I've seen and what I've read is it's not a problem until they begin to monetize it, and then they're like, well, now we got to shut it down.
eh, I mean even the non-monetized stuff, like fan made shit, like again, if it infringes
Well, if
on
they're
an
using
IP,
their assets, then yes, they kind of have
sure,
to, because
sure,
it's an image thing when it comes to Nintendo. I think first and foremost.
right. But I think Nintendo has it down, at least from a convenience perspective of the end user, where they're like, oh, we're not going to immediately, not make it so you can't play your game. What we are going to do is we're going to hire like an entire army to just scroll just to make sure that none of our shit gets out of our hands.
Hmm. Mike, remind me, was it Nintendo that hired people to find whoever had hacked systems or was doing something before, and they found him and then made an example out of him by
Uh huh.
like basically saying he's going to pay millions of dollars back over the next couple of years? It's like indentured servitude to him. Was it Nintendo or was it
Uh
somebody
huh.
else?
It was
Okay,
Nintendo.
yeah, yeah, perfect example.
Right. And I mean, I think they do it. It's funny because there's so many things that Nintendo is so bass backwards on that is
Hmm.
almost kind of funny. And then there are things that they're really progressive on, like AI, for example. Like, hey, we're not going to use generative AI. That's not something we're even going to look into. And
Hmm.
it might seem backwards, especially in today's market for video games, with
Hmm.
like PlayStation developing AI to help you play games. Um,
The last
but
headline I read about that was they're developing an AI to learn how you play games and then turn it against you. The both
okay,
of you turned your head the same way at the same time.
I mean,
It'll
again,
make
I'm
fights more interesting.
again, I think the problem is it's the tool can often be conflated as being the person using the tool. Like AI inherently in and of itself is not bad.
Hmm.
People's use of AI is extremely bad.
I was going to say it's a bad musician who blames the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just sick bastards.
But ruin it for all of us. All right, you guys want to go play games now?
Yes, let's go play our DRM enforced games.
Yes.
Let's
Online too, so that way they know we own it.
yeah.
And it and what? We're less than 30 days away from reset.
Are you talking about Marathon?
Yeah.
That confused the hell out of me. I was not ready for Marathon. I got to get you your code so you can download TMNT and we'll get on that.
Mine's already downloaded, baby.
I don't
Go
need the
grab the
code. 'Cause
PlayStation from downstairs.
I don't need the code. I already purchased it.
You fuck.
Listen, man. Listen. We're in it to win it.
I can't do anything nice for get the hell out of here. I can't do anything nice for anybody.
The nice thing that you can do is get on
Play
and
with my friends.
Yes.
I'm gonna stream it too. I'm gonna go grab my PlayStation and hook it up
so
and
hold on.
stream it.
So quick question again before we jump off: are we playing Marathon? Or are we playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Turtles. Meg's got the Xbox, so I can't play Marathon. We'll play Marathon tomorrow, though.
Okay. Let me.
Cryo,
Alright.
Cryo Friday. Hold on, don't.
Yeah.
We also have to clap sync at the end.
You're right.
Oh,
Yeah,
Also, you need to give us the outro, folks.
I
you
was
can
gonna fucking do that.
All right.
Make you do it.
I can't remember. Swiss cheese, baby.
You know where to
That's-
find us.
Yeah, you
Mike.
know where to find.
You can hit us up on the socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. What is it? Ramble Pack Pod on all those. We're also on YouTube, and we have a Patreon, so come check out all the raw shit that's get puts up on there. Podcast goes
Raw.
live. Thank you. Video version of the podcast goes live same day as the audio version, which is Wednesdays at 7:30. Come check us out, and we're gonna be streaming, so come watch every so often. I have no set schedule for streaming. It just happens whenever I feel like doing it. So, yay.
It's the best way to do it.
People are watching the VODs though, so that's cool.
Hey,
Yeah, that's a win. I'll take it. All right, let's go be Toidles.
later.
Bye.